Hey everybody, this is the Mud Guy, and I want to welcome you to the first part of the Project Provocator series. As you can see from my workbench, this is one of the biggest projects I have undertaken so far. This series consists of converting my Slash 4x4 into something more robust with better handling characteristics. We will be focusing mostly on an LCG conversion, but other upgrades include new stainless steel screws, ceramic and stainless bearings, Tekno RC drive shafts, RPM plastic upgrades, a Kingz head motor mount, 17mm hub conversion to accept buggy wheels, along with a thorough cleaning and relube of old Slash parts. So the first thing after disassembling the old Slash is I wanted to take apart the diff cases and get all the old grease out, add my new bearings in, reinstall them. I added some new grease as well. Now right here, I actually had a problem in the beginning fitting this in there. I had to trim some of the one edge of the diff case off just to get it to fit in the front end assembly. I learned my lesson in this step that I should have probably put the steering belt crank in before I added the diff case, and that way I wouldn't have to do this step right here. Now the new front end assembly screwed into the chassis nicely, and I got the steering all lined up the way I wanted it. RPM A-arms, they installed pretty nicely, no problems there, just had to hammer the pin in a little bit. I got my Boca bearings installed in the rear diff case now, and I'm working on the shock tower. This diff case inserted into the rear end pretty nice. I didn't have to do any modifications. It all went together. Once I figured it out, it snapped together pretty nice. I decided to stick with the stock bumpers. I never had any issues with them, and they still had a lot of life left in them. I bought a new Spur Gear. The old one was looking kind of rough, but I had to take it apart to replace the bearing with a yellow seal Boca Bearing. Installed my out drive on the drive shaft, and then brought the Spur Gear into the back, through the back of the motor mount. Now it was time to install the whole rear end, tighten it down, and set my gear mesh. Once I installed the rear carriers, I moved on to the CVAs. The thing with the CVAs is that you have to do everything in sequence. You have to line the pins up perfectly, and they fit inside the bearings. So you don't have any issues with pins falling out, but at the same time, every time you take that apart, you're gonna have to watch that you don't lose your pin. After that, I installed the 17mm hub conversion. You have to kind of be careful to line up all the pins so the set screw goes into the front and locks the whole thing into place. I had many choices of where I was going to set up my camber links, so in the end I just aimed for the middle. And then I reattached the Proline Shocks. Alright, so I'm pretty much finished with the guts of the new Slash project, the Project Provocator. And I was roughing in the shell here to try to get that to fit. And just to give you an overview of what I did here, I skipped over some things in the build part of the video, so let me just touch base on a few things. First of all, you know, as you saw, we went and redid all the screws, all the screws and the nuts, as many as we could with stainless steel. We added RPM body mounts and A-arms. We added all new drive lines and drive shafts. They're all Tekno RC now. New 3-cell battery. We have this here, the VG chassis brace. That was recommended by another guy that did this conversion, and I thought it was a good idea. Didn't fit perfectly, I had to bend it a little bit, but the holes lined up, which was nice. The Proline Shocks, Proline Power Stroke Shocks, I actually had them from before, but they're a nice match on my on the Provocator. Boca Bearings throughout, not necessarily for the ceramic properties, but because they claim to be corrosion resistant, maintenance free, so we'll put them to the test. They fit really nice. Had no issues with them. You know, the only issue I really had fit wise was the actually the Traxxas Diff case matching up with the front end here. I had to shave some of that off, so. That was the only issue I had with that. It was a little scary, you know, Traxxas parts, you would think they would work with other Traxxas parts. The 17mm hub conversions, and we used Proline split 6 wheels and Proline Badland tires to complete the look of the truck that I want. Now, I have my reasons for going with buggy tires, not necessarily for performance, but just cost-wise, because I may need buggy tires in the future. But we'll get into that at another date. So that's why I went with the conversion. I was also kind of curious about it. I thought, you know, this is something neat that, you know, I could do, and I chose to do it. Went with the old bumpers just because I think they're pretty good. I'm not really one to upgrade things that don't break, but this is something that I kind of thought about, you know, what could I do with the Slash, where could I go with the Slash? So I did do some upgrades that weren't necessarily needed, but I was breaking my stub axles, so I'm kind of happy with the CVAs. You know, we're gonna get away from that. The old Slash drive shaft kept popping free, so we're done with that now. I was constantly taking the bearings off, cleaning them out. I did have some corrosion on some bearings, so it's kind of cool now to get away from that. Same thing with the screws. Most of the screws. Now, I didn't, you know, the RC Screwz kit was, for the most part, a decent package, but I didn't have all of some screws, and I had too many of others, and they didn't have solutions for, like, these screws here that screw the shocks in. So I would say it's okay. It's not complete, but it definitely, you know, I got to change around a lot of my screws here. Kingz head motor mount, that was kind of cool. Unfortunately, it came with 2 bearings, which is really cool, but I had to buy a Boca Bearing anyway, just so I'd have a complete set of yellow sealed ceramic bearings. One tip about Boca is that if you want to buy their bearings, now I got a complete Slash set, but I also had to order the carriers here from Tekno use a different size bearing, so I had to order them separate, and I also had to order the Kingz head bearing separate. The best way to buy Boca is to order in bulk, because it's kind of strange. If you order one bearing at a time, it's like 10, 11, 12 bucks, but you can get a 4-pack for 15 bucks. So it really doesn't make sense. They nail you on the single size, you know, the single bearings, but if you get a set, it's actually not too bad. And the neat thing was I got to take every last little part, you know, every last little part of the Slash apart and clean it and lube it. Still got some dirt from, you know, here and there, but yeah, this is it. This is the Project Provocator, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Part 2 will be I'm going to get the body mounted up. I also have a J Concepts over tray, which I'm going to mount up. I think I'm going to install a fan in the over tray to reduce heat, because now I'm up to a 3-cell, and I never ran that with this Valenian. Hopefully I don't do anything wrong. I've never pushed the Valenian that hard, but we will now. So I'm going to have to concentrate a little bit more on heat issues and stuff like that. And then I got to get the, I bought a Proline Flowtech Ford Raptor body, and we're going to, that's for jumping. I'm going to cut out some of the sections in the back. We're going to paint that up. I'm actually going to try to make it look like the original stock body that I had with this. I actually like the way the stock body looked, but it's shot now, so we had to get another one. So I think I pretty much covered it. So I hope you enjoyed the Provocator, and you know, check out part 2. We'll get the body up, but for now I think I'm going to put the old body on and take this out for a spin. So stay tuned for part 2.